Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Barbells with Banter. I'm your host, Callum Sully. It's been a while since I've done one of these. Been a long while, probably about 6 months. If you've been following me, you'll probably know why. If you've been living under a rock or you're new here, you've not been following me, first things first, go and do that. Okay. Basically, I've had a lot go on health-wise, which I'm going to do an entire different episode on because it's a long story. But for now, we're focusing on fitness. Back to the usual stuff here on the podcast. So, not doing a solo podcast in a while either. No, I ran a survey on my social media. I advertised about it a couple of weeks ago. And the purpose of the survey was to find out where people were at right now at this time of the year. And that is autumn or fall if you're transatlantic. I know I've got a lot of listeners that are in the States, quite a lot in Canada, probably due to a lot of the guests I've had in the past, or anywhere else. Okay, you might call it fall, or here, mainly in the UK, it's autumn. And autumnal is the term. And with that comes a lot of barriers, comes a lot of struggles, restraints when it comes to fitness, weight loss, health goals. We're going to be talking about that today, how to overcome that, what the most common barriers are at this time of the year, and a couple of tips on how we can handle that. So yeah, talking all about October, autumnal weight loss struggles on this episode. First things first, guys, if you're not already following me, I'd appreciate if you go ahead and do that. Pause this episode right now and go and do that. My handle is at Callum Sully Fitness on all platforms. Okay, mainly active on Instagram and Facebook at Callum Sully Fitness. I'm also on TikTok. I'm not that down with the kids, so I'm not too active on there, but I try my best. I can't really fall into the whole TikTok dances and stuff, so don't expect to see any of that from me, unfortunately. Okay, so getting stuck in them. So we're going to get started with the shift, the actual shift from summer to autumn itself. You know, as summer and autumn tend to battle it out. Okay, as summer and autumn tend to battle it out, there is a big contrast in the weather in terms of warmth. Sometimes the sun comes out, it's nice and warm, and as soon as the sun goes, you remember it's autumn again. Now, this isn't a weather podcast, but it has relevance because when we've just come out the back of what has been a very good summer here in the UK, we've had a very extended summer. Reminds me a bit like the past when I was a kid, when summers were normal. Okay, you didn't just have these 3-4 day heat waves and then it just rain and be cloudy and miserable. We've actually had a lot of sunshine from the spring into the summer. And now autumn hits, God, it just hits like a freight train. You are quickly reminded by the time that equinox comes along. Now, with that shift, of course, comes the darker, cold nights. And with this come a lot of barriers. So from a fitness standpoint, it can affect motivation. You know, it's darker. You might be at work. You might get up, go to work, it's dark. Finish work, it's dark. The last thing you want to do, or the last thing you are thinking about, is finding time for a workout. Okay? Going to the gym, or whether that's working out at home. You might certainly not be thinking about going out and walking, particularly if the weather is rainy, cold, windy, miserable. I can understand that. And then from a nutrition standpoint, from a diet standpoint, there's a complete shift there because we're going from summer foods, you know, salads, healthier barbecues, sandwiches, whatever it is, to suddenly the colder weather starts to bring in the craving of the warm, cozier comfort foods. And of course, that can be harder to diet. That can be harder to keep in a calorie deficit, no matter what your goals are. So, when you have been working on your summer body, okay, and it feels like the next time that comes around is miles away, okay, well, it is. It's going to be a year away, all right? So, it can be easy to fall back into old habits, to crave those warm, easier, convenient takeaways. You're going to be moving less because it's darker, colder. You're going to be more tempted to stay in, be around the snacks, far less motivated to work out. So we're talking about that and how we can deal with that. So that's the most common barriers in terms of what I call the autumn shift. It happens very quickly. Okay. So let's get into the food struggles, the diet side of things first. We're talking a lot about the autumn shift and how that impacts your diet. We're talking about takeaways. We're talking about comfort foods. Okay, it doesn't even have to be takeaways. It could just be convenient, ready meals that are just easier because of time restraints, motivation slumps. The lure of cozy, more carb heavy and therefore calorie dense foods are quite prevalent this time of the year. And even drinks, hot chocolates. Okay, autumnal treats. I'm a sucker for a pumpkin spice latte as much as anyone else. But of course, these treats come with a price. They're high in calories. Okay? Combining that with moving less, you've got yourself a calorie surplus. So what can we do here? Well, little strategy I like to call comfort swap. Okay, comfort swapping. I've said this many times on this show, on my social medias. Slow cooker season. Now is the time to pull out that slow cooker. If you haven't got one, now's the time to think about getting one. You can pick them up quite cheap these days. Okay. And trying to mimic a lot of the foods that you crave and just make healthier versions. There's so many great recipes now. I've got a great slow cooker recipe book that I use, but you can't go wrong with a good BBC recipe. BBC Good Food recipes, they have slow cooker recipes on there. And you can make fakeaways. Now, I hate that term fakeaway. It's a very Slimming World-esque term I try and avoid using. But, it basically means recreating those high-calorie, those convenient takeaway foods that we know are unhealthy. And how we can mimic that and make them a little bit healthier. And the usual way that we can do this as well, guys, it doesn't have to be difficult. The main focus is just about increasing the protein level. Because if we only focus on increasing protein, we're naturally going to make any meal that much healthier. You don't even have to add loads of healthy food, loads of veg and fruit into your meals. I mean, those things are great for you. But chasing the protein is probably the most important as well as easiest way to get on top of your diet. In fact, I would say that protein chasing your macros, is much more effective and easier than calorie counting. Now, I'm a fan of calorie counting, but not everyone is. It can become very obsessive. It can become more of a chore than anything. And it is, because it's a metric, it's a form of measurement. We're monitoring how much energy is coming in versus how much energy is going out. And whilst that is effective, because that is essentially how we gain and lose weight, it's all about calories, I believe that macro tracking is a better, more enjoyable, I don't want to say more enjoyable, but less daunting task than counting calories. And the reason why I say chasing the protein is because protein, probably the most important of the three macronutrients when it comes to changing your body, no matter what your goal is. Protein is very dense, very filling, the body has to do a lot to break down protein, which means you're actually burning calories with a higher protein diet. It's filling, so you're far less likely to overconsume calories if you're on a high protein meal. And then protein itself repairs all the cells in the body. It's obviously great for repairing broken muscle tissue. You know, these benefits are they outweigh the effort that it takes to get more protein. So we can do that when it comes to these comfort swabs, as I call it. Okay? So, warming high protein recipes, you know, there's loads of things you can do now. Iceland are paired up with My Protein. You can get a lot of My Protein. Now, I know I said before about ready meals, frozen ready meals, but I tend to get a lot of My Protein frozen meals in from Iceland, but you can order them from other places. And I tend to stack them in my freezer. Now, I don't get these purposely to choose because you always want to make fresh food. But they're high in protein, and I use them as my backup meals. So if I worked a little bit later than what I planned, or if I've had something go on, I've not got home in time in the evening to have the time to make a meal from scratch, using these My Protein meals are a quick bang in the microwave. I've got a high protein, decent meal that I've already had stored in the freezer ready as a backup. The other alternative, of course, is that slow cooker. Slow cooker, prep your food in the morning or early dinner time. Yeah, you're looking at 15 minutes to half hour prep time. But then doing that and then putting your slow cooker on a low to medium setting and letting it cook throughout the day while you go to work or while you do your duties, you know, the school run. Perhaps you're working from home, you're on the laptop, you've got meetings, perhaps you're a stay-at-home mum. That's the busy time throughout the day where you're keeping the kids occupied. You can rest assured that your food, your evening meal is already prepped. And if you're making enough of it, okay, depending on your family size, and you've got some left for lunch the next day, even better. Okay? Slow cooker season, take advantage. When it comes to the takeaways, you know, it's great. You can make your own curries in a slow cooker. I'm sure you can make Chinese meals, or whatever your favourite meal is at a Chinese takeaway, you can probably do it in a slow cooker. I've made fajitas in a slow cooker. Granted, I didn't put the wraps in there, the tortillas, but you know, the filling, the content can be done in a slow cooker. To take advantage, get that bad boy out. If you don't have one, go and get one. It's a game changer for this time of year, all the way into winter as well. Okay. Outside of that, make those meals high protein. It's okay to mimic these comfort foods, even pizza. You know, if you can make a healthier pizza base from scratch, you can make it far less calorific than what you would do from a takeaway. Okay. So, food struggles, and also avoiding that I'll just start again in January. There's two mentalities that are detrimental to fitness or fat loss journey. Two mantras, negative mantras, or two ideologies that you might have. One is a much bigger scale, just starting the new year. Now in October, you're saying that. You're basically writing off the rest of the year in hopes that you're going to have the motivation all of a sudden in January. Now, I've been doing this for 10 years, and I can tell you that rarely ever works. From someone who's worked with thousands of people in over a decade, I've seen it. That mentality, for myself as well, does not work. For most people, humans just don't work like that. And if we want to really condense that, the second ideology is the same thing but micronized, which is I'll start on Monday. Same thing. We get to Thursday, get to Friday. Oh, it's the weekend. Do you know what? Diet starts on Monday. And it's the same problem. You're basically wasting a weekend of what could be an effective couple of days just relying on Monday. And we create a bit of a cycle then. The scales don't move, our clothes don't shrink, we don't go anywhere because we're constantly following this weekend indulgence followed by Monday fresh start. And look, if you're happy with that, that works for you, and you're content with what you're seeing results wise, then keep doing that. But for the most part, that mentality doesn't work. So switching from nutrition, we're going to talk about mindset. Mindset at this time of the year, or seasonal slumps, as I like to call it. Darker evenings, less motivation, colder weather, meaning we're less likely to be in the mood to improve our health, to improve our fitness levels. And there is an impact. Less daylight does tend to lead to less energy levels, lower mood, lower motivation. When I run the survey that I mentioned before, when I run these surveys, I always put it as an option, but it's the response I hate the most, which is, what is your struggles? And I put it as an option, I don't know why, because it's the most common answer and I can't stand it. Lack of motivation. And there's a reason why that frustrates me. I have a saying, I have a mantra, which is, motivation is created, not gifted. And what I mean by that is, my job, I like to believe, is to help get you motivated. But I can't gift you motivation. I can't gift wrap motivation in a little present and give it to you and go, here you go, here's some motivation. And automatically you're ready. Motivation is an emotion, feeling that's created from your own mindset. No one motivates you. People just help you get motivated. At least that's what I consider my job to be. I help people create habits that in turn gets them motivated, because humans like to follow rules. That's why people like to do diets, follow diet plans, because it's rules. People are motivated by following rules. But I tend not to like that approach because it's quite a negative approach, and very easily people just don't have the attention span to continue with that. So motivation is created from within. I can't gift you motivation. I can help you get motivated by sparking something inside yourself. Now, most people do put that as their response, that their biggest barrier when it comes to their fitness and health, their goals, whatever that might be, usually fat loss. I usually put a multiple choice, I usually put time, common one, okay? Maybe injuries, their own physical health. Confidence is another big one. But the most common response is motivation, or the actual response, lack of motivation. And I hate it. I hate hearing that term, because unfortunately, there's not much I can do about that. I can give people all the nutrition education in the world. I can give all the diet plans, all the recommendations when it comes to the diet, which does make up the largest part of any body transformation. It's the diet. Okay. We talked a little bit about how to work with that in autumn. I can give people workouts. Okay. That might get you motivated, but one thing I can't do is change your mindset. I can give you tips, but I can't do it. I can't People can pay me money to help them get results, but if they're not in the right frame of mind to do it, it's not going to work. Doesn't matter how much money they give me. There's only so much. My hands are tied. There's only so much I can do as a fitness professional to provide some form of assistance with your motivation. And it's even harder at this time of the year when there's less daylight, there's less warmer weather, so we're even less motivated to get out and about, walking, work out, go to the gym. Might be the last thing on your mind. Eat healthy, eat clean foods because you're craving those more comfort, warming takeaway foods. So autumn doesn't help with an already existing lack of motivation. So how do we overcome that? Well, I've got a couple of simple mindset hacks that we can do. Talking about the mindset here, where motivation falls in. And this is important because I like to class fitness as an umbrella term. When people think of fitness, they just think of exercise, running, burpees. You might be thinking, Callum, no one's thinking of burpees. But fitness itself is just an umbrella term that a lot of sub factors fall into. And I like to categorize, if you imagine a pyramid, if you will, with fitness being the very top term, within that is a pyramid that sort of goes down. And then you've got the holy trinity of fitness, I like to call it. Exercise, goes without saying. Nutrition. Third one is mindset. And fitness is a combination, in my opinion, in my experience, and I've been doing this over a decade, professionally. A lot longer that I've been into it, but fitness falls under exercise, nutrition, and mindset. And I deliver my services, my programs. I tend to follow that very formula. Fitness is about those three main things. There's many other things that fall subcategories as well. You've got sleep, recovery, hydration. But fitness is made up of those three main factors. So what we can work on is our mindset. On top of nutrition, we talked a bit about nutrition. So mindset-wise, seasonal slumps tend to be common at this time of the year. We spoke before, we have our mood tends to be down. When we lose daylight, when we lose warmth, not only related to our fitness goals, but in general. You've heard of SAD, SAD, seasonal depression. And that's directly linked to a lack of vitamin D, a lack of sunlight. Us living creatures were designed to be in the daylight. Now, depending on where you listen to this, you might not have access to that. Like I said at the start of this episode, some people may have a job where they get up, it's dark, they go to work. Maybe in an office you don't see outside, you don't see daylight. You come home and it's dark. And that can lead to, quite a little bit of, I don't want to say negativity, but it can leave you feeling down. I can see where depression comes from at this time of the year when it comes to just that alone. So a couple of mindset hacks that you can do to help break those seasonal slumps. Take daylight walks. Now again, as I said, you might not have that option. But look, we can use artificial light. If it means walking around your living room with a light on, it's never going to replicate being out in the fresh air in the natural daylight. But we have to, look, sometimes this journey is about doing what we can. Don't just throw in the towel because, I don't have daylight, I can't go and hit my steps, I'm stuck in an office all day, I may as well just let myself go and gain loads of weight and lose my health and fitness. No, we can make changes. We can adjust. And one of the ways you can do that, like I say, if you can get outside on a lunch break or when you finish work, even if it's dark, get outside. A good way to help fight that seasonal slump, change that mindset. We can use artificial light, walk around your house. You know, the power of walking is powerful. Morning routines. It's a big buzzword, morning routines, and a lot of people, you may see it on social media, have a morning routine. Listen, it could be any kind of routine throughout the day. It doesn't have to be the morning. You might not have time for a morning routine. But creating some form of routine throughout your day, whether that be in the afternoon, whether that be in the evening, whether that just be scaled throughout the day. Having a routine is good because creating order within chaos is a good way, it's a good mindset hack. So morning routines or some form of routine is a good little hack to help, sort that mindset out, get you motivated, there's that word. And accountability. Accountability can be holding yourself accountable to someone else, whether that be a family member, friend, a work colleague. I've said in previous episodes, placing bets with friends and family. If I don't achieve X by Y, I give you £50. Could be something like that. If I don't lose £50 in 90 days, I give you £50. Or it can be more positive if you want to spin on it. You could, have a deal with someone where it's like, for every pound I lose in a month, I get that back in pound coins. Make yourself accountable to someone else. If you'd rather just be on your own, then you can make yourself accountable by journaling. Okay. We talked about routine, keeping a journal, keeping a diary of your activity. Placing a bet on yourself somehow. Treat yourself. Set yourself a non-negotiable goal. If I don't achieve X by Y, I don't get to treat myself to a new dress. I don't get to treat myself to a night out, a takeaway, And this could be weekly, this could be monthly, this could be a much longer term goal. Whatever it is, you need accountability. You need a routine. And there's just a couple of examples, some mindset hacks that you can do to help survive that seasonal slump in October. So when it comes to fitness, we talked about that as an umbrella term, but we're speaking a bit more about the exercise here. Fitness isn't just physical. There are serious mental health benefits to fitness. Like I said, not just about exercise. Fitness is mindset, nutrition, exercise, you name it. Fitness, I believe, is just you achieving progression within your mind and body somehow. You don't even have to lose a pound on the scales. You don't even have to drop an inch. Fitness is quite relative as a term. Everyone has different goals, aspirations, different ideas on what they class as a fitter version of themselves. And it's not just physical. Fitness for you could just be having more motivation. There's that word again. Having more accountability, feeling happier. If going out and going for a run, going for a walk, you're not training for anything in particular, you're not trying to change your body weight, you're just doing it to feel good, which many people do, by the way. I get that a lot from people who run. I always say I don't run for fun, but some people do because it makes them feel better. In the same sense that some people lift weights to make themselves feel better, not because they're expecting anything, particularly in the short term. Because when it comes to weight training anyway, it's more of a long-term goal that people are chasing. You certainly aren't going to see results in the short term. It's a long-term thing when it comes to weight training. But short term is definitely more beneficial for mental health. So even more important to incorporate fitness just for your mind more than anything at this time of the year. So of course it wouldn't be October without talking about the half term. Now a lot of you people listening are going to be mums, okay? And in that situation, half term is quite a big barrier. Knocks you out of routine. We talked a bit about routine before. Well, if you've got a routine established, I can guarantee you that, a school holiday or a half term can certainly throw that out of sync, especially pre-Christmas. It's the last half term before Christmas. So, when we're preparing for Christmas, and yes, I said the C word, it's coming. When we're preparing for the festive holidays, using this time of the year is advantageous. But, of course, the good old-fashioned half-term comes in the way. Kids being home means the routine can go out the window when it comes to your own personal habits, your own fitness and health. And you'll have less time, notably. So how can we change that? Well, it starts by reframing, okay? It's about reframing less time and seeing it as an opportunity instead. Can we use this as an opportunity to involve the kids in a family walk? If it comes to meal prep, cooking healthy food, can you get the kids involved? Can you get them chopping up ingredients? We don't feel comfortable doing that. Is there something they can do? Can they mix ingredients in a bowl? Can they contribute to you bettering yourself? Can it help them? Does it set a good example for them to see you doing that too? What was something to consider? When it comes to the exercise, if you're working out at home, you're doing some funny positions because to you, you're getting fitter, but to the kids, they just see mummy putting herself in all weird shapes or jumping around doing squats and stuff, and they might find it hilarious, but guess what? That's giving you a boost as well. Because not only are you benefiting physically, but they're benefiting as well. Can you get them involved? Can you get them joining in? Let's do a squat challenge. Can we hold a plank? And I guarantee you, children haven't developed any poor habits through work and slouching. They'll probably move in better form than you. In fact, I know they will. If you watch a child pick them up off the floor, they'll do the most immaculate deadlift imaginable because that's how they've evolved. They don't know any different. They've not developed any bad habits yet, like you have. Get them involved. Like I said, less time to focus on you, absolutely. But instead of seeing it that way, let's reframe it into half term can provide opportunities to do something fresh with the kids and still get the benefit of your fitness goals at the same time. So going back to Christmas then, yes, I said the C word, I get it, it's too soon, we don't want to be hearing it, but we have to start planning now for the inevitable. We know that Christmas is one of the hardest times of the year for your fitness and health goals, especially if your goal is weight loss. I would say there are 2 times of the year that are the hardest, and that would be Christmas. And then I'd say summer holidays is your second one. Because you're having holidays, you're with the kids, it's tough. Okay, just like we spoke about with half term. It's not a bad idea to start planning ahead now for damage control. I used to have this campaign a few years back in my career where I had this saying which is maintain, don't gain. And that was the goal for my followers, for my clients, is use December as an opportunity to just maintain your weight rather than trying to lose, and just focus on not gaining. Because by the time the new year comes around, we talked a little bit about this before, I'll wait till Monday. Well, on a larger scale, it's, oh, I'll wait till January. And you don't want to fall into that trap. I'll wait till January. I've been doing this a long time, and I've worked with thousands of people, and I cannot tell you how many times I've seen that fail. People, yeah, it's busy, January, busy time of the year for me in my career. However, by February, it's over. Motivation's gone. People don't have that new year, new me mentality anymore. We're about to head to spring. You're putting a lot of pressure on January. And we're going to talk about January again in a second, but back to Christmas. So try and avoid the all or nothing spiral before we hit Christmas. See, Christmas has a tendency to let you slip into a snowball of being off track in the weeks building up, because you're relying on January. You got Christmas, get Christmas out of the way, the year in between Christmas and New Year, and then by January, New Year, new me. And that's okay. But what if you can make that easy for yourself by focusing on damage control now? And we can do that by building small, non-negotiable habits to keep that momentum going. And we can start that now. And we can do that. We can approach the weekends, we can approach Christmas parties, events, family events without guilt if we start building non-negotiable habits now. As far as habits are concerned, we can start off small. Could be setting yourself a step count. Okay. Could be setting yourself a goal of, you know what, just aiming to eat 3 fruit or veg a day from now till Christmas. Controlling some sort of nutrition means you can still enjoy your pigs and blankets, still enjoy your mulled wine, but you're doing something which is a non-negotiable habit that you get stuck into from now till Christmas. Might also be a good idea to, if you have got a Christmas party to go to through your work or your spouse's work, family event, or some sort of night out, it might be a good idea to plan ahead of what you want to wear to this event in December now. It might be worth buying something that's a couple of dress sizes too small for you now, as something to work towards from now, so that by the time you get to it, you'll be glad you did. Don't rely on it. So yeah, Christmas is another time. We're not even got to the October half term yet, but we're already talking about Christmas. But you know, we are at that back quarter of the year now, guys. There's less than a quarter of the year left of 2025 to go. I still can't believe I'm saying that, but starting to think ahead to the toughest time of the year for anybody when it comes to the health and fitness, which is the Christmas season. Why not get ahead of the curve? Start now, while it's quiet in October. Start building those non-negotiable habits. Start setting step counts. Start setting nutrition goals. Start getting that slow cooker out. Making fakeaways, you know. All the things we talked about so far. Just getting back to January, finishing off with that. I know it's a bit far ahead, I'm getting ahead of myself here, but one thing I'll leave you with on this episode as a mental component is, ask yourself now, who do you want to be by January? Who do you want to be by the beginning of 2026? And the reason I say who do you want to be, because it doesn't have to be about weight. It doesn't have to be about being 5 stone lighter. Who do you want to be? Do you want to be a stronger version of yourself? Do you want to be less injury prone? Do you want to be healthier? Do you want to be more confident? in your own skin when you look in the mirror? Do you want to be happier? Do you want to have a bit more you time? Do you want to be a better role model for the kids? Have a good think about it. Okay? Who do you want to be by January? Maybe create a little vision board or a little note in your phone or a journal if you do your journaling. Put a note. Who do you want to be by January? You don't have to rush the answer. Have a good think about it. And the reason we're talking about this so early is because we are deep into October now. We've only got November and December, and then we're going to be there. Scary to think of, but it's true. It's coming. Not a bad idea. But normally when I sign up an online client on my Radiant Revival program, I deliver it as a 90-day program. And the reason is because it takes a good 3 months to really start seeing results. True results. And we have less than 3 months between now and the start of January. So now is now is the time to start thinking 3 months ahead. Something to leave you with. Okay, guys. Thanks. I'm not doing a solo episode for a bit. Hopefully I've touched a little bit there about autumn when it comes to how we can handle it, what the barriers might be. Hopefully some of it you've recognised, some of it you might relate to. That was based on the survey that I ran. You can still go and fill that out, still on the link in my social medias if you want to. It takes 2 minutes, a little survey. Let me know what you're struggling with at the moment, how I can help. It helps me deliver the content over the course of the next few months. In terms of when I post fitness content, I don't just want to post stuff that people are interested in. I want to genuinely help people where they're at. What's the biggest struggle right now? Hopefully we've covered some of that in this episode. Guys, go and follow me if you're not already. At Callum Sully Fitness is my handle on Instagram and Facebook, TikTok too. And if you have any questions or you'd like any topics that you'd like me to talk about on the podcast, especially on these solo ones, I will have some guests booked in as we head into 2026, and we'll talk about plenty of different things. But in terms of these solo podcasts, I'd rather sit here and talk about stuff that's going to be beneficial to the listeners. If you're listening to this on Spotify, Apple, wherever you're getting this podcast from, make sure you hit that follow button, subscribe, and download. Again, you can reach out to me on info@csullypersonaltraining.com and send me an email with the subject podcast, and you can let me know if you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover the next time I do a solo podcast. You guys, thank you very much for taking time out to listen. It's been a pleasure to be sat here mic'd up again, doing what I love to do. Just talk about fitness and help you guys out. All the best. Take care. Have a fantastic October.